hey there all, welcome on into VG Emporium, video game music and more. I'm your host, Rage Cage, and today we're going to be talking about time, or more, I should say, the feeling of not having enough time. You know, just that general feeling of just having to rush to do all these things in such a small amount of time. You know, finishing one thing, but you're not feeling so great about the results of it, but you can't go back and do it because you got to go and do this other thing before time runs out, and you got to do that, you know? And of course, that feeling of frustration that comes from this. When, in fact, sometimes the reason for this crunch is because you're putting more time into one thing that doesn't really need that much time. In fact, could be done in much shorter time. It's just that you get so hyper focused on trying to cram so much into that one thing that should only take such a short time to do that then it kind of compounds, and then you run out of time to do these other things, and then you end up. Just all this to say is that, yeah, I'm kind of feeling about this show, because if you had listened to last week's episode, the Masters of VGM, which hopefully you listened to everybody else's, I mentioned that I'm planning on, kind of changing the way how I do this show, because, if you've been a long-time listener, I kind of cram a lot of information into these episodes, like, with each track and talking about the composers and the games themselves and just cramming so much in there between the things and pretty much like a lot more talking than there is actually music. And before, I was able to do it because I had, a little bit more time to actually kind of put into it, but also with the way how I record things, I record it like on the fly. I don't do like any prior research. I'm getting like a lot of my information as I'm recording, so I'm kind of recording in chunks as opposed to just one giant block. And honestly, it would take me a few hours over the span of a few days to get an episode done, because sometimes I get so caught up in trying to find all this information and details, and then all these little things like my computer's kind of trying to slow up or just weird little glitches happening, that by the time I actually get to recording all the information I found, I kind of feel like I'm cramming to get it done because I'm trying to get to the next thing, and I'm not putting as much fun into it. And this has been exacerbated by the fact that some of that spare time I've had to do the show has kind of gotten a little less and less, but then still kind of obsessing, researching, trying to find all those little tidbits of information on what I'm talking about, which then results in even less time to get it done and even more frustration. And then, as I mentioned, I record in little bursts and bits here, a whole line right here, this section right here that you're hearing is made up of about maybe close to 20 clips already. And like I mentioned before, I don't record in one big long chunk. It's all in these little clips because I'm doing multiple takes, because I'll be recording and then I'll mess up a little something. I'll just delete the whole thing and then restart again and then, and then kind of piece things together. So there'll be sections where, I'll be talking and it's okay, and then I'll mess up. So then I go back to the point where I mess up, and if there's enough space there, then I'll just do a retake and then kind of edit it to where it's almost seamless. And so, recently, within the last few months, I've been getting really frustrated with myself because I'll record something, I'll mess it up, and then try to record and mess it up again. And it's just it's because I'm trying to rush to get it done. And so I'm messing up more, and so I'm deleting more, and then, it's a bad process. So, all these things together, recording without a script or notes, just all improv, doing the research as I'm recording, and then redoing and deleting and redoing takes. And it all really came to a head with last week's episode, the Masters of VGM episode, unfortunately. Because an episode like that definitely deserves the attention of, doing, that deep dive, finding all that information. It's just that the way I was trying to present it just wasn't working for me somehow, and it just, again, frustrated me. And so I finally decided, all right, after this, normal episodes are going to be less information heavy, mostly music with some talking, which you may have noticed with some previous episodes I've been doing. Just very small amount of research on the game itself, not going full hog, just trying to find all the information I could about it, because some of these games that I cover, really hard to find information on without really deep diving. And the same will go for composers, unfortunately. I'll still be kind of talking about their information. It's just that I won't be going between all these different sites and trying to deep dive, because some of these composers are also pretty obscure and don't really have information out there readily available without doing deep diving. But I'm hoping that this will help the episodes flow a little better, and also kind of help let me be more of me, and I'll feeling I've just been focusing more on info dumping as opposed to actually on the music itself, and just kind of doing everything in a stilted way. I don't know. So with this, I felt it was appropriate to talk about time attacks, which, unlike my attacks of time I've been having recently, time attacks in games are generally fun. Sometimes it's trying to clear a stage, or hit a certain number of combos in a puzzle game before time runs out, or trying to beat your best time in a race. And, the music will vary depending on what kind of time attack, or time trial, or time mode, or time whatever it is. And the music in these modes will vary from, panic-inducingly frantic to fun and energetic, much like our opening track, which was Time Attack, from AMS2, Take Revenge for the Ruined Master, composed by Naoto Ishikawa. And the vibe of the song is hey, you got this, you can do it, and then when you complete that thing, you can do it better next time, come on, let's do it. But I don't really have the full context of what kind of time attack mode this is, because I couldn't find any information about this game The only thing I can assume is possibly it's a shmup, because the only other game I could find by Twinklesoft, which is the company that made this game, is called Sylops, which is a shoot 'em up. But, that's just my assumptions. And that's because, I almost got myself into doing a deep dive, and then I remind myself, no, I'm not going to do that, because if I can't find the information, within, the first 2 searches with, certain ways, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to dive that much deeper. And then as far as Naoto Ishikawa, what I can confirm they've done is this game, Sylops, and B System. And this is from BGM Rips, because I found another Naoto Ishikawa, but I couldn't confirm if that was the same one, and I didn't see these games listed in their credits, but maybe it is, but I don't know. What more I can tell you about this game is that this is a SharpX 68K release, so the music you're hearing is made with the YM2151 and the Occam chip for the sampled percussion. And like I said, this has kind of a fun energy, so I'd imagine whatever time attack mode this is, it's not too stressful. It's more maybe just trying to complete a stage in your best time. But I can say exactly that's the kind of mode that our next track is for. This is Time Trial from Dynomite, composed by Peter Hajba, also known as Skaven. and that was Time Trial, from Dynomite, composed by Peter Hajba, also known as Skaven. And if that name Skaven sounds familiar, that's because he is a pretty big figure in the demo scene, especially for the work he did as part of Future Crew. And I got introduced to him like in the late 2000s when I was in junior college, and I was just starting to really find out about tracker music, and I was burning a bunch of it onto a CD. Yes, I was still doing that, and I had a few of his tracks on that CD, and they were definitely ones that stood out for me. But we'll get more into him in a little later. Talk about Dynomite here in this Time Trial. So Dynomite is a puzzle bubble or bust a move like game, where instead of busting the bubbles, which have the little duders inside of it, you're busting eggs that actually crack open and have yolk and stuff come out, though they look like they've already been fried. And then the ones that are doing this busting are still dinosaurs, but not as cute as Bub and Bob. No, they're a Stegosaurus and a Triceratops, though they look, pretty cartoony. And so in its Time Trial, you're trying to clear all the rows in the best time that you can. So the only real stress here is just watching those seconds go up as you're trying to work your way through. And this track here kind of fits the vibe of that. And it just sounds like the kind of thing that kind of gets you into that state of concentration where you're just really locked in tight, trying to focus on hitting things most efficiently, best way you can, while your pits are sweating and your palms are kind of sweating also, and you're just like, just a really tense feeling. Just kind of having the sneaking feeling that you're not doing your best to get that best time, so you just start over to try again. Now back to Skaven. As I said, he was a pretty big figure in the demo scene back in the 90s and early 2000s, but in the late 90s he would actually start working on music for video games, starting in 1998 with GL Tron, and he actually did a couple tracks for Unreal Tournament in 99. And then here's the surprise one. He did the music for Bejeweled in 2001, which is a game I remember my mom really loving to play on her, on her computer. And surprisingly, he did Bejeweled 2, Bejeweled 3, and Bejeweled Blitz Live, all this between 2001 and 2011. So that might be a future episode topic because that's got to be some interesting stuff. And then another one in 2001 is Max Payne, which he contributed sound effects as well as particle effects and character animations, which he also contributed these to Max Payne 2, as well as eventually Alan Wake in 2010. But now getting through more of his music credits, we got Alchemy Deluxe, Bookworm Deluxe, Big Money Deluxe, Warblade, Sweet Tooth to Go, Hamster Ball, PopCap Hits and Arcade, Bunka, Just Cause 3, Space Tyrant, Generation Zero, then his latest credit in 2019, Rage 2 and its DLC, Rise of the Ghosts. But in this time of producing art and music for games, he is still writing original music with trackers, which he is regularly posting on SoundCloud, which I will be linking in the show notes. Alright, it's time to get you out of this pensive state and get your adrenaline pumping. This is going to be The Ultimate Challenge from Crimzon, Clover, World Ignition, Arranged, composed by Javier Garcia, also known as Gryzor87. And that was the Ultimate Challenge, Time Attack Mode from Crimzon Clover World Ignition, the arranged version by Javier Garcia, also known as Gryzor87. And even though it says arranged, I believe this is just an alternative music for the arranged version of the game, and not an arranged version of the original music dubbed by Poteki. And again, I nearly caught myself in trying to really dive into that, and I'm just like, okay, no, that's enough. I'm gonna just leave it at that. So Crimzon Clover is a Doujin vertical ortate shooter. And I saw somewhere that it said it's kind of similar to Dodonpachi and how it plays, like it's kind of like a bullet hell. And I personally, I enjoy playing shmups in the arcade. It's just that, I've tried playing some bullet hells, and it's just, I can't really get it. It's just like, watching people actually play that and just pick their way through those bullets and doing it in fast, and even just doing it on one credit is insane to me. But I guess this game has some pretty high regards in the shmup scene because, originally it was released on PC in 2011 and then got a updated version in the arcade, and then a Steam version in 2014, which is World Ignition, and then eventually a Switch version called World Explosion. So all the same game, just all updated versions. But one of these things that has been there since the original game is the time attack mode. And in order to get the best rank in this mode, not only do you have to clear the best time, but you also have to not take any damage or die, as well as getting the highest scores that you can. So no pressure, and this music here really fits the bill, with those fast and frantic breaks and that driving lead. This, of course, by Javier Garcia, also known as Gryzor87. And looking into his credits, it looks like a lot of them are for old school style arcade games. And some of these credits include Hydora, which is another shmup, Garoden, Verminion Trap, Donkey Me, The Curse of Isios, Ghostblade HD, Darkula, which is kind of interesting because it was originally released on Windows in 2019, but then had an Amstrad CPC version released in 2022. The Solar Gladiators, Super Battle Princess Madeline, and then his latest credit in 2023, Death Wish Enforcers. And then I just found one thing. In 2011, he was part of 25 Year Legend, which was a compilation album of Legend of Zelda remixes put together by OC Remix. And on the page I found this, it says that he has contributed to OC Remix before, but I couldn't find anything under Gryzor87 or Javier Garcia. So there's that. So now moving on from this energetic and exciting track, I got something here that's kind of all over the place, and in some ways even more epic than this. So this is MKai Special number 1, Time Attack BGM from Kanzen Kouryaku Kyokugen, and this was composed by Shinobu Hatakeyama. And that was MKai Special number 1, Time Attack BGM from Kanzen, Kouryaku, Kyokugen, caused by Shinobu Hatakeyama. And yeah, I wasn't lying when I said this went all over the place. So this game is a shmup, and where this song plays is in a couple modes called 3-minute and 5-minute modes. And my assumption here is that you're just trying to build up as much score as you can without taking any hits. And on the YouTube video I found this on, in the description, the guy's saying that this is a pretty surprising mode to have in an MSX shoot 'em up. So yeah, cool stuff. And so the sound here is from the YM2413 FM sound chip alongside the A138910 PSG sound chip, but if you've been listening for a while, you should know this already. And I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of giving me the itch to do a now that's what I call a YM2413 part 2. And in hindsight, this probably should have been included in that when I did do it, because this is just like so many cool sounds that they're doing with this simple sound chip, which again are just all 2-up FM presets. But, you know, maybe I can include a track from the soundtrack because there are other tracks on there that are just as impressive, if not as wildly varied. So now getting to our composer, who is also the developer of this game, we got Shinobu Hatakeyama, who also goes by MKai. So yes, not only did they do the music for this game, they also created the game. And from here, he would go on to create a bunch of shmups that are very well regarded. These being Cardinal Sin, Echatos, Judgment, Silver Sword Resurrection, Natsuki Chronicles, and Ginga Force, as far as I can find. And these are games that he had, like, you know, main creator role on, but I'm not sure if he actually continued doing audio for or not. But the coolest and wildest thing I found is that while working on this game and his previous game, Izumik Ballad, he was still in high school. And to give you context, Izumik Ballad is a RPG, and then this game has like 12 playable characters, one of them a character from that Izumik Ballad, as well as all these different modes, and then all this awesome music. And I'm gonna end it here before the existential crisis sets in. And now you're probably wondering, wait, what, 4 tracks, that's it? No, there's no more? Yeah, because, you know, I had a few other lined up. It's just right now I'm kind of like in that time crunch, because yeah, I got so many other things to do, and this is really the only time I have to do this before, you know, it's too late. So yeah, Time Attack. And it's probably gonna be the same case for next week's episode, because I'm gonna be out of town for like pretty much most of the week, so I don't know when I'm gonna be able to actually record the, you know, next week's episode, but I'm gonna just try to cram it in. It might be the special orders episode. We'll see. But I'm hoping after, like, you know, these next few episodes, like, you know, kind of like getting myself refigured out, you know, things won't be so janky and not as rushed feeling. So, you know, I'd like to thank you for coming into VG Emporium, and if this is your first time in, I'm sorry that it's of not the best quality, but hey, if you happen to like it, despite this, you can follow it on your podcatcher of choice, being, you know, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, and anything else that happens to pull from these feeds, as well as on Terra Player, which is a hub for all kinds of different video game related podcasts, as well as the main website, vgemporium.wordpress.com. And then if you'd like to reach out, there is the email, vgemporium@gmail.com, as well as the Discord, where you can, you know, leave suggestions, feedback, which, you know, I'll accept gladly, and leave special orders, which are song requests. And once I have enough of them, which I'm gonna have to recheck to see if I do right now, I'll do its own dedicated episode. So yeah, as for next week, again, we'll just see what my time crunch allows me for. So yeah, again, thank you for coming into VG Emporium, video game music and more.